right, team, welcome to this training where I'm going to be going through how to lose 10 to 20 kgs of weight gradually and sustainably as a busy leader and a dad as well. And that's using a case study example of this client here, Des, who lost 17.2 kgs, at least up to a couple of weeks ago. His recent measurements may even be a little bit more than that. And in doing so, he's knocked off 14 and almost a half centimeters off his waist and 2 trouser sizes. Potentially, again, maybe 3 trouser sizes at this point. But the latest measurements are there for you to see. He's a managing director in a high-stress industry, an unpredictable industry, and also a father at home. So I'm going to run you through a few slides. This is not going to be a short training, but I'll try and make it as concise as possible. So a few facts before we actually get into the what and the how Des lost 17 kgs. Des is a managing director of a UK construction company. He's a dad. He's 45 years old. When we started, he was 290 pounds. He's currently, or at least a couple of weeks ago, he was 252 pounds, potentially even lower than that, maybe in the 240s now. His trouser size when we started, 42 inches. Currently, or at least his last trouser size measurement was 38. And as I alluded to at the start, his stresses, his challenges are time, stress load, unpredictability of his work industry, and just trying to balance competing priorities. Okay, so before we get into the fun stuff, I just want to show you that this process has been used on a lot of different clients to get, as you can see, and hopefully you agree, some amazing results. You know, a lot of these clients are either senior leaders in much larger businesses, they are small business owners or executives, CFOs, whatever. You know, they all have their challenges with time, with trying to balance competing priorities. And this process worked for them. It works. It's not about having more time. It's about having a certain set of habits that are flexible, that fit into your particular lifestyle, that are not too rigid and allow for you to have a little bit of fun on the side. I'm talking alcohol, donuts if you want, but without going overboard, without losing control, and without blaming time as an excuse or lack of it. All right. So first things first, there will always be life challenges. There's always something that's not going to plan. There's always something going wrong. Do not expect, a perfect ride. It's not going to be perfect. What year have you ever lived in where nothing went wrong in the entire year? It doesn't happen. So a key point that I want to make clear here is that even when doing coaching, when doing a program, or when trying to make a real effort to lose weight, to be healthier, there will be challenges along the way. That's just the way life is. And if you just get knocked off course by the first challenge that comes along, and you let that knock you off course for the next 6 months to a year or 5 years, you're always going to struggle with this. So that's very important to know. You will not succeed in sustainable weight loss if you're just in it for the quick wins, for the quick gain. Okay? You need to be in it for the long run. You need to think about, and I'm going to go through how to do this, but you need to switch your frame of mind to be in it for the long game, not for the short term, just see a small number on the scale. kind of mind frame. You need to change that. I'm going to show you how to do that here. And last of all, I make a point of this with clients. You need to also acknowledge intangible progress. Not all progress is measurable. You can't measure everything on a scale or a tape measure or even in photos. You need to acknowledge intangible progress too. And what I mean by that is, for example, clients often go on holiday, sometimes when they work with me, and they might gain a kilogram or two when they come back. And that's okay. And what they might notice after a little bit of conversation on that matter is that in the past, that same holiday that they go on every year, they would have usually gained maybe 4 or 5 kgs. They'd have gone crazy. They'd have drank too much alcohol. They'd have been eating shit. They'd not have done any exercise at all, or much less. And in doing so, when they've worked with me, they'll notice that they did a little bit more walking. They drank a little less alcohol, but still enjoyed themselves. They ate a little bit less rubbish food, but still enjoyed themselves. And in doing that, they only gained 2 kilograms versus the 4 or 5 they would have done in the past. That is what I mean when I'm talking about intangible progress. When a setback comes along, when a challenge comes along, and instead of getting completely knocked off course, you just have a little bit of a wobble, and you can't necessarily measure it, but it's a better reaction than what you might have reacted, how you might have reacted in the past. It's really important to acknowledge, because you can count that as a win, even if it doesn't feel it in the moment. It is a form of progress that is not measurable. Okay. And to demonstrate that, I've got 2 holidays here where Des went on holiday twice within the space of a month, came back, put weight on, totally fine. And then after that, he also had work dues for Christmas. Here it is around about December, November, January, when he was taking customers, clients on work dues. A lot of whining and dining. At that point, all it was about is, look, let's just stick to the basics and we can get on track come January, but let's not lose track of everything that we've done so far. And so all we did was work on just being as consistent as possible with the basics up to that point, and holding out until January, just holding out until a little bit of an opening came up. Okay, and that's sometimes just how it is. But do not throw your toys out of the pram as soon as you get back off holiday or something knocks you off course. Okay, so let's dive in. The success pillars that I work on with clients, and as I did with Des: energy balance, mental strength, habits, and accountability. Energy balance is looking at calories in, calories out, so food, nutrition, and activity and intentional exercise. Mental strength, as some would call it, mindset, is looking at things like your values, your limiting beliefs as to why you can't do something like lose weight and be healthy. Habits, using the Kaizen approach, which is basically a form of progressive and incremental change. And accountability. This uses obviously a relationship with somebody else, whether that be a coach, a mentor, a manager, somebody in the family, a friend. It uses a relationship to start with. What we want to do is we want to internalize that accountability, though, in order for this to be a sustainable approach. And that comes from the mental strength. This looks and may sound a little bit more complex than it really is. So I'm going to go through each of these step by step with practical examples of how to implement the habits that Des implemented to lose 17 kgs and the exercises that he went through in order to build his mental strength and internalize accountability. Okay. So first of all, energy balance. To create a calorie deficit, you need to expend more energy than what is coming in. Or another way of putting it is you need to have less calories coming in than the calories that you expend on a daily basis or even a weekly basis. So to do that, all we really need to do is focus on being net positive over past exercise and diet. That's all you have to do. Doesn't matter if it's 1% or 10%. You just need to be in a net positive on average consistently. So that's to say that it doesn't have to be perfect every single day. Some days you can have an off day. There's 7 days in a week. If you can get 6 or 5 of them really good and just have one slightly off day, it's net positive. That's all you need. All right. Think of this as like the 80-20 principle. Okay. This just basically means you don't need to throw the kitchen sink at it. You do not need to go on keto. You do not need to go on any kind of rigid and restrictive diet at all. You just need to do a little bit more and a little bit better than you did in the previous week, the previous weeks, and the previous months, or even years. You just need to do a little more and a little better. That is it, with 1 or 2 things, not a load of things. If you just do that, you will see change. As you can see with the graph here up from Des in his first few weeks. So in practice, what this looks like, look at data to start with. So what I got Des to do, for example, is look at his activity data. How active was he, steps-wise, and do a food photo diary for 3 to 5 days. And with that food photo diary and the steps, we basically just look at that, and then we look at that data and we just, say, what can you do better? How can you do a little bit more than that? And we've got the data so that we can refer back to it after the next week. So we make a micro goal with a micro action step to fulfill that micro goal. So there's 2 points there. For example, to increase daily average steps by 20%, the action step might be do a quick 20-minute dog walk at 6 a.m. in the morning, or whatever time works for you. But the point is, you've got the data, you look at that data, you look at how you can just make a little bit of an improvement on that. What can you commit to? What feels reasonable? What feels realistic and sustainable? In this case, 20% on the steps. And then what is the action that needs to happen in order for you to fulfill that, to hit that target? And we would maybe agree that 20 minutes seems reasonable. Over the course of a week, if you do that 7 days, that is 140 minutes. It's a decent amount of walking. Even if you did it 5 days a week, that is 100 minutes of extra walking that you was not doing in the previous weeks. Okay, just more and better than previous. That's all. All right. Habits. So this underpins that first pillar of energy balance. In that we just want to do a little more and a little less, a little more and eat a little less, should I say? But little steps at a time. Not, as I said with the first pillar, not throwing everything at it. Not trying to do some crazy, regimented, all-in diet. Just making a couple of simple changes at a time. And that just basically means that there's no overwhelm. It's easy to tweak and amend and adjust as you move forward, meaning that it's very flexible. It allows you to adjust as you go, which allows for ease and simplicity. Practical examples of this with Des is in week 1, we got him to look at doing intermittent fasting. we just had a conversation about that. He liked the idea. He gave it a go because for him, it works really well. He has a busy schedule. He's got a lot of work. He just needs to get on with work very quickly in the mornings. So intermittent fasting works well for him because then he doesn't have to think about breakfast. It also reduces decision fatigue because he doesn't have to think about how to get 3 meals right in a day. He just needs to think about getting 2 meals right in the day. So it's very beneficial for a lot of reasons, as well as also it increases energy as well, focus and clarity of mind. On top of that, he also committed to doing 3 swims as well each week, just 3. He wasn't doing them before, so 3 was reasonable. And last of all, he committed to making the simple change on lunch of getting more protein. The way he did that was by using Huel. So Huel is a very good all-in-one nutritional shake that you can buy in a lot of different stores in and around the UK, in the US, and in the Middle East, I believe, as well. They have a good balance of protein, carbohydrates from whole sources, very natural sources. So they're not filled with lots and lots of additives and artificial foods that are going to do you no good. They're filling. That just basically means that after doing an intermittent fast, Des felt reasonably full. He felt full because of the protein content that he was having at lunchtime, which allowed him to get through the day without feeling the need to snack. Okay, so as you can see from the graph, he lost 10 pounds over the first few weeks, 3 weeks actually. He lost 10 pounds just by making these basic changes. We didn't add much more to his changes in the second and third week. We just kept him doing these things for the first 3 weeks and just maybe increased his activity a little bit. That was it. And he lost 10 pounds. The mental strength pillar, this is vital for the sustainability aspect as well. So not only do we want to just make changes gradually, 1 or 2 or 3 at a time in Des's case, but we also want to challenge the limiting beliefs. We need to disprove them. We need to look at what our values are, and we need to visualize what future it is that we want for ourselves. What is the best version of you? How does he think? How does he behave? How does he act? Etc. And last of all, we need to actually, probably most importantly, understand how to bounce back quickly, not in months or years. Not allowing a holiday, not allowing a setback in business, not allowing a family challenge to knock us completely off course. We need to understand how to get back on the horse quicker. Okay, so that is what the mental strength pillar is all about. The way that we do that in practice is there's a few exercises that I take clients through. You can ask me for the ones that I'm sharing with you here. So the first thing is you need to get in front of your excuses. You need to get in front of your bullshit. Whatever it is that you tell yourself is the reason you cannot do X, Y, Z. You cannot exercise. You cannot lose weight. You cannot stick to any kind of a healthy regime. You need to get in front of that. So the way that I do that with clients is very simple. Get them to write out 5 reasons that they can't do their goal. They can't reach their goal. Whether it's weight loss, whether it's just feeling better, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's exercising, whether it's eating healthy food, whatever it is, what are the 5 reasons that you cannot lose weight and be healthy? Okay. Then come back to that a day later in a different frame of mind, with the frame of mind that is That's all bullshit. How can I break those down? Why are they not necessarily the truth? Okay, so you're actually yourself, you are challenging what you said previously. You are coming back and calling yourself out on your bullshit. All right. Next, who do I want to be? A character description. This basically helps you to really get down and deep on what is the best version of you. How would you feel? How would you feel if you didn't carry that extra 5, 10, 15 kilograms of weight that you currently carry? How would you feel? Would you feel lighter? Presumably, yes. Would you have more energy? Yes. Would you feel like you don't crash? Would you be able to make it through the day without crashing if you were healthier, if you weren't eating sugary foods that give you a sugar rush, if you was less reliant on caffeine, if you were sleeping better? How would you feel? How would you behave? What would your energy be like? What type of things would you spend your money on? How would you be around family? How would you show up in work? What is the best version of you, and how do they show up when they are healthier and their habits are aligned with their values? The last point, make mistakes and be okay with it. Now, a little side note here, this is best done at least to start with a little bit of an accountability partner or a mentor. Just because if you imagine like when you start a new job and you need a little bit of guidance on where you're going, what you're doing, especially in your earlier days when you was new to the job world, a young adult, and you needed that manager, you needed that mentor just to tell you that you've done something wrong, but here's how to correct it, here's how to do it. And eventually you don't need them to, do that because you learn how to get over your mistakes quicker or how to correct your mistakes quicker. The same thing applies here. We just need you need to just understand that mistakes are part of the course, just like with business. If you start your own business, sometimes it might not work. You need to try a few different things or even a few different businesses before you get it right. Likewise, you need to be okay with making mistakes and progressively and consciously getting quicker at counter-reacting the mistake. So that if you go on holiday, if I don't know, your mother-in-law has to move in with you and your wife and your kids, which actually happened to a client, you don't get knocked completely off course. You manage yourself quicker. You are conscious, and instead of it taking months or even years for you to get back on the horse, as they say, you actually just take a few days to figure things out. Okay, really, really important for sustainable change. Okay, accountability, the final pillar number 4. The way I describe this to people is it's like having stabilizers on a bike. To start with, you might need an accountability partner. It definitely helps, whether that's your friends, whether it's somebody in the family, whether it's a coach, mentor, somebody in work. It helps, and they act as the stabilizers. They are the ones who keep you upright and guiding you in the right direction until you learn to find your own balance. Meanwhile, the way that we do that we find your balance, is work on those values, work on your mental strength, work on making mistakes and being okay with making those mistakes and reacting quicker to correcting them. But while you do that and while you work on your values, what we want to ultimately do is start getting you a little bit of progress, because what happens is you start to internalize that sense of self-accountability as you work on your values. With regular check-ins with a coach, a mentor, or a friend, and getting crystal clear on your values, and then the impact of your actions, your behaviors, the changes you're seeing from your behaviors on your values, you start to create this feedback loop. And it becomes this self-perpetuating, positive, self-fulfilling prophecy. You feel good about yourself because you're losing weight, you're lighter, you're more energized because you did X, Y, Z. You went to the gym, you went on a run, you've been going on your walks, you've eaten healthier. When you've done these things and you start to see the changes on your values, on how you're a better dad, a better leader, a better husband, maybe it's just a little bit more shallow than that. Maybe it's just looking good around the pool and not being afraid to take your top off. Whatever the reason, it starts to create this self-fulfilling prophecy and it becomes a positive spiral. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. That's just a reminder of the 4 pillars that we've gone through here: energy balance, mental strength, habits, and accountability. You can get these slides from me in the Inspired Leaders community if you want. Just a little reminder, this has worked for a load of different clients. I'm probably worked with about 50 different clients up to this point in senior leader positions, whether they are the executive in a much larger business or small business owners. Either way, they're very, very busy. They have been very, very busy, the type of clients I've worked with, but this process has worked for them because it does not require extra time. It just requires the implementation of a few basic habits done 1 or 2 at a time and then repeated over time, and work a little bit of self-work on internalizing your accountability. That's all it takes. Okay, so what do you do now? I mean, take action, very simply put. Ask for the exercises that I've shared here today, the 5 reasons why, the values DeMartini exercise that I shared, 30 things towards your values, just to help you to internalize and understand the impact of your behaviors on your values. Or if you want a little bit more direct help, reach out. If you want to look better, if you want to feel better, want to lose weight and look better in your clothes, be healthier, live longer, have more energy. Who doesn't want more energy? Ask for a chat. I don't buy. 10-15 minutes is all it is. You can message me on Facebook, you can message me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to grab a quick call with you. I hope that this has been valuable and helpful. If you have any questions about anything, any of the pillars, the changes that Des made, the progressions that he made, then again, send me a message. I'm happy to help. And take care.